If there's one thing that we all have in common, it's a desire to be loved. But we don't know really what love is. We get messages from the media, we get messages from religion, we get messages from our parents, we get messages all the time about what love is, but none of them are relating to that true, deep, unconditional love. That love that is loving us for who we really are. So the focus of my show today is going to be being loved for who you really are. And the name of this show is Living Wisdom, and I'm Patty Paul. When we're children, we learn very early to be what our parents want us to be. We learn very early that our emotions make other people uncomfortable, especially those emotions like anger, sorrow, rage. Those kinds of emotions really make our parents and others uncomfortable, so we learn to suppress them early in life. In fact, the message we get throughout our entire life is suppressing our emotions makes us more acceptable to other people. We also learn from parents that to be acceptable, to be loved, is to try to be perfect, to try to get straight A's in school, to try to get on that football team or the cheerleading squad or win the spelling bee, to excel, and then we can be accepted and loved for the perfect or almost perfect person we're trying to be. As we move into adolescence, a different kind of pressure on how to be accepted, how to be loved. It has to do because we've got raging hormones. We've got all these insecurities about what it is to be an adolescent, what it is to be an adult. We want to be an adult, but we're clueless as to what that really means, except we see our parents, and many of us say, if there's one thing I don't want to be, is just like my parents. So there's a lot of confusion there, and usually not a mentor around, usually not a wiser older person to guide us through it. So we get through as best we can by letting our peer group set the boundaries, establish the rules of what it is to be accepted and to be loved. We have to wear a certain kind of clothes. We have to comb our hair a certain kind of way. Girls learn early on that to be accepted by boys, to attract boys, you have to look a certain way. Now we learn to look like the cheerleader, queen of the prom kind of girl, or maybe the goth influence. Maybe our peer group is that gothic influence, thinking they're rebels, but of course they're all dressing alike and they've got their own rules about how to look and how to act as an adolescent. So basically what we're doing as we work our way through childhood and adolescence is to be someone who will be loved, who will be liked, who will be accepted. Even, for instance, in a high school setting, those who identify themselves as loners, those who don't feel they belong, they also have this little group. They may be disconnected. They may so into their isolation that they don't realize there are others who also feel isolated. but it can be very painful. It can be very painful to try to suit parents so that we get what feels like love from them by doing what they want us to do. It can also be very painful to go against what parents and those authorities want us to do, to try to rebel in that way and be an individual, but to be excluded and misunderstood. Those are some of the problems with childhood. So it's kind of a mystery what love is and how to get it and how to be loved. Fortunately, in this information age, there are many teachers now, more enlightened, shall we say, more enlightened information, more enlightened teachers who can help us learn what love really is. What love really is a state of being, and it is also things to do that respect ourselves. Quite often we've heard, most of us who are out there seeking the new answers, we've heard that the important thing is to learn to love yourself. Well, that's certainly contrary from the old information and the old religious beliefs that self-sacrifice is where it's at. That you earn God's love by sacrificing yourself and by sublimating yourself, by being a martyr to others. That's how you earn love. But there's a higher truth about real love. Unconditional love doesn't have to be earned. And so to find that source of unconditional love and allow that to fill us is a big step to loving ourselves, and loving ourselves then enables us to love other people. In my book, which I wrote a few years ago, called A New Spirituality Beyond Religion, I talk in detail about the components of love, the interaction between the things to do and the way to be, and the impact, and to allow ourselves to be impacted by love. So it's a big subject, a complex subject, which I don't have time to go into on this half-hour show. But in my book, one could read more about it. My book is available in libraries, and there are other books out there about love and other sources of information, so that anyone interested can find out how to be loved and give love. It's kind of an ebb and flow of energy that just doesn't go out, it comes back. Ebb and flow. Love sets a resonance, as a matter of fact. And when you move into those higher levels of love, there is a resonance that is vibrating at a higher frequency, so to speak, and so you attract people who are at that same level of love. Getting back to the example of high school kids, and so many of us, even though we become grown-ups and years away from high school, we've moved way beyond those adolescent years, we carry that wounded adolescent with us, and it acts out frequently in our grown-up reality, especially when it comes to relationships with the opposite sex, or relationships with people that we want to have be loving relationships. So getting back to that adolescent period again, getting in touch with emotions like love is not cool. So we reinforce that what we learned early on, reinforce the suppression of our own emotions. As we become grown-ups, to learn how to open up into our emotions, to be present, not only consciously present, not only intellectually present, but being present with our emotions, the full range of them. I mean, we're human beings. We have human emotions, and it's important for us to give ourselves permission and authority to feel our emotions. And this takes practice. Sometimes it takes the help of a therapist. It takes the help of new information from, shall we say, self-help books to learn how to open up to our emotions, because we've had a lifetime of learning to suppress our emotions. Anger is one emotion that has been suppressed, and it's like a pressure cooker that either explodes and splatters everybody around us, or it implodes and we manifest the expression of anger through diseases and ill health. So emotions are a very important body of energies to be explored and understood, our own. This is not about changing other people. This is only about changing ourselves. And as we change ourselves to become more opening to the love, being more loved, and then we can be more loving, we will, as I said before, attract different kind of people. People who also are more loving, who also can accept love. Connected to this is self-esteem. Self-esteem is one of the hot topics in our world. Psychologists talk about self-esteem. There's lots of pop psychology books on the subject of self-esteem. But self-esteem, for the most part, is seen as doing something that gets you self-esteem. On the drive to the studio this morning, I saw one of those bumper stickers that said, "My child is the student of the month at so-and-so high school or so-and-so grammar school." That is like sugar-coated, shallow effort at giving some kid a feeling of self-esteem, because by now every grammar school kid knows sooner or later they're going to be named student of the month, and that goes as sort of a superficial pat on the head. Also, winning those gold stars in school for writing a good paper, or for getting the least number of spelling words incorrect. That's a way that makes the kid feel good for the moment, but that's not real self-esteem. Or winning a race, or winning a football game, or being the cutest cheerleader, or the most popular girl in school. That can make a person feel like they have self-esteem. But real self-esteem comes from loving oneself, from allowing the love that we have to have impact on ourselves, and that comes from how we live our life. In other words, by setting our own ideals about how we want to live our life. Total honesty, for instance, might be one lofty ideal that we might choose for ourselves, and every day go through the day trying to shoot for that lofty goal of total honesty. That means being brutally honest with ourselves, telling ourselves the truth, and being tactfully honest with other people. Also, a lofty goal that we might set for ourselves to help create our own inner self-esteem that nobody can take away from us would be to live our life in a way that we never intentionally hurt another. And that means intentionally hurt. Being tactful by what we say, being caring by how we express ourselves, by how we act throughout the day. And also another lofty goal would be ourselves to become unconditionally loving of ourselves and of others. Now, what does that mean, unconditional love? What that means is to understand that we are human beings, we make mistakes, we have a multitude of facets to us, and to accept those multitude of facets, to integrate them, and understand that as a human being we are complex, and to love ourselves in spite of some of our faults, all the while with a focus on growth and change. Growth and change, becoming more of who we really are. Each one of us is a spiritual being. Each one of us is unconditionally loved by the Creator, that in the highest truth that I know is an unconditionally loving Goddess and God. And to open to that unconditional love that we don't have to earn from anybody else. It's just there. It's just opening and receiving it. And that will help fill us and help us feel more of who we are, more of that spiritual being, so that we can then share that, spread the wealth, so to speak, by being an inspiration, by living in that energy of unconditional love. So again, to move away from this belief, this attitude that we get from society and from all of the authorities, that we have to look a certain way, we have to have six-pack abs, we have to have a physical body that looks a certain way, we have to buy a certain kind of clothing or perfume, or wear our hair a certain way, drive a kind of car that's going to give us admiration from others. Move away from that superficial level of esteem into the true self-esteem that comes from within, the kind that we grow, that we set for ourselves, that no one can take away. That's a very empowering thing to do, and that is part of being loved. Getting in touch with our emotions, giving ourselves permission and authority to have emotions, because lots of us early on got the message that not only should you not express some of those emotions like anger and fear and jealousy, but you shouldn't even have them. This reminds me of an interview that I saw on television. The mother of Clarence Thomas, the man who was appointed finally to the Supreme Court of the United States after a lengthy hearing where certain accusations were made against Clarence Thomas. Anyway, when it was finally over and he was confirmed, I saw an interview on television with his sweet little old mother, and the interviewer, the network interviewer, said, "Well, Mrs. Thomas, how do you feel about what Clarence had to go through? Are you angry about that?" And she said, "Oh no, I'm not angry, I'm a Christian." Well, that was her belief, obviously. Her genuine belief that to be a Christian, or a loving person, however you might define that, you can't even have anger. You shouldn't have anger. And so many people believe that. So many people, and that has caused so many problems for human beings, so many problems for society. This idea that to be a religious person, a spiritual person, you can't have anger. It doesn't work. And there is a higher truth about the value of anger that is appropriately expressed. Not suppressed so long that you finally blow up and hurt other people as you express it, but by yourself to get in touch with your anger. When you get in touch with the depth of your anger, your jealousy, your rage, some of those limiting emotions, and release them and change, all due to your own effort, then you can be open to the depth of joy and happiness and love and abundance and some of the joyous and expansive emotions that really make being a human being fun. So you can't just have one without the other. We have a full range of emotions. In order to feel the depth of love, to receive the love that's available to everybody, it's important to get to the depth of our own emotions, even the limiting emotions. Unfortunately, in the mental health field, which includes therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists, so many of them are also afraid of these deep emotions, these deeply felt emotions that have been unrecognized for years and years. And so the way they deal with them is to try to encourage you to forget about them, to take drugs which keep you from getting in touch with them even more. And that just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not the solution. It's not a long-term solution. After you leave this lifetime, you're going to take those emotions like a set of baggage, a set of luggage. You're going to take that with you and give yourself opportunities in future lifetimes to deal with them. So you have the choice of recognizing, acknowledging, and then releasing and changing now, or doing it 10 or 20 or 400 lifetimes from now. It's all a choice. But how much more fun life would be right now if we each learned how to be loved and how to be more loving and open to unlimited abundance, unlimited joy, and unlimited fun. Each of us come into every lifetime with 7 focuses that we've chosen for ourselves. The first 2 are the same for each of us. To learn how to consciously create success and to learn how to have fun. Now with the first focus, consciously create success. Consciously is the operative word. To learn from what hasn't worked and to change within so that we can consciously create success. The second, to learn how to have fun. That means at every stage of our life, at every age we go through, to learn how to have fun in a new way, in a way that's appropriate for that stage of our growth. The 5 other focuses that each one of us chooses for ourselves is our own unique combination. Excuse me. And so the adventure of life is to discover what those 7 focuses are We constantly give feedback from our reality, from all of the relationships we have in our life, from all of the events that happen. It gives us feedback on what we came in to work on: abandonment issues, betrayals, jealousy, a multitude of focuses that we might have for ourselves. And always to open to receiving more and more love, to learn how to be loved for the real human being that we are, for the real spiritual being that each one of us truly is. So that would be a selection of things that you might want to explore and expand for yourself. I hope I've given you perhaps some new ideas, a new way of looking at your life and yourself. The name of this show is Living Wisdom, and I thank you so much for watching it. I'm Patty Paul, saying goodbye until the next time.